After the winter break, our hero Kenny Roberts was preparing to return to Europe to defend his road racing title. His sponsor had designed a new motorcycle for him, and Kenny went to Japan to test it. Then, 6 weeks before the first Grand Prix, disaster struck.
There was a real fast right-hand corner coming onto the straight. It's a Yamaha test course. And as I entered the turn, maybe 120 miles an hour, the front wheel went away from me. And next thing I knew, I was up against the guardrail. And I hit the guardrail with my back, and at that I paralyzed the insides, ruptured my spleen, fractured my left foot, and I had a compression of the 11th and 12th vertebrae. And they went in and operated on the spleen and put me in a cast, a couple of casts, and in 3 weeks sent me home.
Everyone thought Kenny was through, but just 6 weeks after his near-fatal crash, he was back on the track and ready to race. No one thought Roberts would be physically strong enough or psychologically prepared to do battle with the men who wanted to take his title away from him. He was going to face 4 major problems during the upcoming season. 1, even when at his best, Roberts was not good when push-starting his bike in the European-style run and bump. Roberts' second problem was Will Hartog, the Dutchman. Third, Englishman Barry Sheene, who desperately wanted his title back. And Kenny's fourth problem was the handsome and daring Italian, Virginio Ferrari. Now, with his serious injuries, the weakest part of his talent would be magnified. In a sport where 1/10 of a second can mean the difference between winning and losing. The thought that this could happen again while his back was still broken would make the average rider hang it up. Sheene had won the first race while Roberts had been confined to his bed back home, still recovering. But Kenny rejoined the Continental Circuit at the second Grand Prix at the Salzburg Ring in the panoramic hills of Austria. Everybody thought Kenny had just come to watch. They were shocked when he put his leathers on over a back brace and was going to try and race. On the first lap, Kenny tucked right in behind the leader Ferrari, but nobody expected him to be able to keep up the pace. They didn't think a man could come back so soon after such an injury. Breaking my back was something for me to overcome, to make me go on, to make me better than I was before, Roberts told him. Before the race, they'd asked him if he was going to ride as hard as he used to. He told them, nope, I'm going to ride harder. Roberts did pass Ferrari, and the two of them ran away from the rest of the field. Kenny won the race, once more doing what the Europeans didn't believe could be done. One of the colorful villages they visit on the circuit is Imola, where the Italian Grand Prix is held. Imola moves as slow as a bocce ball until race day.
Grande fabbrica italiana.
They're all here at Imola. The Polish picnickers, Russians in their motorhome, and the proper British. Virginio Ferrari is idolized by his countrymen. He is a fearless rider. Ferrari was leading Roberts on points by Imola, 34-27. He was the passionate Italian fans' great hope for a world championship. His back still weak, Roberts got off to the slow start he'd expected, but he made up ground fast. By just the fourth lap, he passed Hartog, taking the lead. By the time he crossed the finish line, he had lapped most of the field and showed the Italians that Roberts was back. On to the Dutch Grand Prix in Holland, a country taken from the sea. And every June, the town of Assen is given back to a sea of motorcycles. Champion road racers are national heroes, and their faithful fans spend thousands of dollars to dress like them. Here we have Mr. and Mrs. Kenny Roberts, Mr. and Mrs. Barry Sheene, Hartog Jr., Ms. Dave Aldana, a frogman, another Mrs. Sheene, and Mr. and Mrs. Marlon Brando. Dutchman Will Hartog was the heavy crowd favorite at Assen.
You must be the tallest racer around. Roberts is like this, and you're so tall.
I'm sorry, and I think that's the reason I'm not world champion this year.
From the start, Sheene took the lead, but the lanky Hartog passed him on the first lap, much to the pleasure of the partisan fans. Roberts struggled along in 8th place. His suspension had failed, causing his bike to shudder terrifyingly on the fast bends. When it wobbles like that, you don't do nothing, Roberts said. You don't sneeze, you don't hiccup, you don't even breathe. All you do is hang on, and soon he was nearly a lap behind Hartog. Ferrari was on their tails. First he picked off Sheene, then Hartog, leading his way around the twisty 5-mile Assen circuit. Sheene pressured Ferrari for the full 90 miles, but his bid fell short by 1/10 of a second. Ferrari won the second Grand Prix of his young career. Following Sheene, Hartog had taken third to uphold Dutch honor. But more significantly, Ferrari had moved ahead of Roberts into the World Championship points lead. In the end, it came down to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Winning here would mean the World Championship for either Roberts, Sheene, Ferrari, or Hartog. Roberts set the fastest lap in practice, but when the front row lined up for the start, he was missing. He had somehow met trouble on the warm-up lap. There he was behind the grid, Carruthers and the other mechanics working furiously on the bike. Kenny had popped a wheelie on the warm-up lap and popped a clutch seal. Both he and the bike were coated with oil. The seal had to be replaced. The race would start in minutes, with or without him.
Cal, grab from this side. Give me one of those cans.
You gotta Yeah. Mind your arms. Yeah. Lean it more over to the left. Time 36, Kenny.
Okay, watch out. Let's go.
All right, Kenny.
Kenny, wait, wait.
The seal was replaced and most of the oil wiped off. Roberts pushed the bike through the grid to his start in the pole position with only seconds to spare. They didn't know whether the seal would last for the length of the race. How would you like to be sitting on the front row, your bike covered with oil, your mechanic yelling at you it's not right, and in less than 30 seconds you'll be going 180 miles an hour? Hartog had used his long legs to get a perfect run and bump start. He spurted into the lead as they swept around the bend called Maggot's Curve. By the end of the first lap, both Sheen and Roberts had caught up. Kenny was reminded of the shaky oil seal every time his hand slipped off the handlebars because of the oil on his gloves. The pits had signaled that Ferrari blew his engine. Now the world title was down to 3. For 10 laps, Hartog led Sheen and Roberts, but they ran away from him. And now it was down to 2. It became a terrific battle between the Englishman and the American. The lead on the last lap, and Sheen planned his move on the last turn, a 130-mile-per-hour sweeper. As they approached it, he took his best shot, but it missed by a wheel. And Kenny Roberts was once again the world champion.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.